Welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James the Fat Man Stevens, and Rob, the old guy.
The old guy is here, Rob Charney. Don't forget to listen to the Rob Charney show. So,
what
about his plug?
Something's happening with the drop.
Yeah.
I can't seem to get to work. Maybe next time.
Come on, John, fix it.
Yeah.
Why don't you do the drop for him?
So I'm gonna.
I can take over.
I'm gonna drop. I'm gonna do like the negative stuff up front.
You got negative stuff.
But first,
I thought
I'm gonna.
This was an easy listening show.
But first, I'm gonna start out with a hilarious story. At least I found it funny. So everybody gets these calls from telemarketers and people, like, you want a free cruise because somebody recommended you. And I got one today, this afternoon, that said, do you need help with healthcare? So I always push one to talk to them. And my comment was, okay, before you say anything, you have to tell me a joke. And I've been doing this for weeks. And the lady was on the phone was surprised. It's like, I got to do what? It's like, before you can talk to me, you have to tell me a joke. Really a joke? It's like, well, so why I did? It's like, to get to the other side. And I said, bless your heart, I'm sorry, I don't need any healthcare stuff at the moment. And I said, I hope you have a wonderful day. And she was laughing.
That's pretty good.
I've been doing that for weeks. I've gotten hung up on a ton. And so we recently heard, and in a jail, if my news story would actually come up, where is it? Former jail employees charged.
So the prisoners were complaining, right?
Yeah. So let's see. Former jail employees face charges for playing Baby Shark on a loop to inmates. 3 former employees of Oklahoma jail are facing misdemeanor cruelty charges. So here's the thing that I thought was funny. Back during the fight, the fight against tyranny, fight against whatever the recent war was. I don't remember what it actually was. Was it terrorism? That's it. I remember them saying like they were playing like heavy metal music, like Enter Sandman from Metallica.
That's all part of the interrogation process.
They were playing. Let's see,
Korn over and over and over again.
The real Slim Shady. They Take Your Best by Dope. So all these songs, and at the time I remember, shit. It's like I do that voluntarily, and then I saw this pop. It's like fuck, I'm doing this one voluntarily too. Because how many times I've heard Baby Shark, dude? I've heard Baby Shark more time than Baby Beluga when I was a kid.
That's right. All you have to do is be a new parent or fairly new parent.
Why? You don't have to listen to that, John.
Well, I'm slightly.
You are the adult.
Yes, but my son enjoys it, so I'm willing to torture myself if it makes him happy to some degree. However, my music will always be better than his. So I'm just going to have to break him of, this new rock band's amazing. When he's older, it's like, I'm sorry, son, my music is so much better. But it's not the Moody Blues. Keep trying. And I did find out something that I've never heard. So redlining and racism and housing policies during the New Deal era. So FDR, one of the Democrat heroes, was partially responsible for redlining and minority communities not getting homes and home loans. I had never heard that. And this is from study.com. For Americans, he oversaw the development of American welfare system, Social Security, and federal unemployment insurance. However, one area that was always extreme importance to him was home ownership. FDR believed that owning a home was the single greatest thing Americans could do to ensure lasting economic security. So let's see. These programs sound pretty nice. To many Americans, they were very beneficial. However, the same agencies that promoted homeownership for some actually worked to deny others. Infused with segregation mentalities from, and listen to this. This is an important part of this. Southern Democrats. The New Deal housing agencies were built around the concept that home ownership was something designed to protect white America. And this is under FDR, and because growing up, you're hearing about the Great Depression and FDR's rise to power, and his 4 terms, and you hear a lot of good things, but you don't hear. I've never heard this. I'm not surprised because it's a matter of the era, but it's the first time I ever heard anything racism regarding FDR, any bad light from on that towards him.
So we have always taken our presidents up until recent history and allowed them to do things and live life and be different than, and not always held accountable for their actions, than we are in the modern era, so to speak, now. FDR was anything but perfect. Probably not well at all. So, but anyway,
he was
at the time,
he was a product of his time.
Yeah.
But it did amaze me, the fact that was not something on the periphery. This is the first one of these I found that it's like, okay, this helps to describe the real person. Now, was it his policy? Was it to actually look into it more? Was it just, was it what Congress passed, or was it like agencies that did this? I mean, there's so much minutia in this that you really don't know if it was the man or if it was other people, because nowadays in Congress, they pass laws and government, and then the courts figure out how to enact it.
Yes, but I mean, I've always had an issue with what I like to say is deifying the dead. And for me, FDR is one of those, or most of our presidents are those, where we kind of look back at them fondly rather than looking back at them for, I guess you could say, the things that they, I mean, are they asking for restitution? I mean, what's going on?
Reparation.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Reparations, restitution, whatever. But you know what I'm saying, though. It's just
got it. Yep, understood.
I mean,
and the reason why I brought this up was also to go a little bit farther in talk, and this is the political section of the show, because I try to stay away from politics because it's so negative now, and I believe I can use our shiz. Now, recently, Biden and the Democrats have wanted to stack the Supreme Court because the first time in maybe 100 years, we'll have a conservative-leaning court if this new person gets pushed through.
I was going to talk about the Honorable Amy Coney Barrett.
So there's just
Go ahead.
One
Let's
second.
make sure we get her name right. I just wanted to get that
So
out there.
the last time a Supreme Court was actually a justice was added was 150 years ago, around the Civil War. Now, the problem I have with this is the Democrats are acting like little Jack Horner, sticking their thumb in the pie and pulling out a plum.
But we're not stacking the Supreme Court. We're replacing the judge.
No. Like, hold on. The Democrats that want to stack the Supreme Court. People have asked Biden, he said, ask me after I get elected office. And this is the problem I have is, so you can make a valid argument that the bullshit they pulled of not going after letting Obama getting a Supreme Court nominee was bullshit. That's politics. You could even say, doing it now to Trump, it's politics. But adding a couple of Supreme Court justices because you didn't get your way is like little Jack Horner, the old nursery rhyme, little Jack Horner sitting in a corner, put in his thumb, pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I." That pisses me off because because you didn't get your way, and there are processes to add Supreme Court justice. Like, okay, we'll add 2 more so we can get whatever we want. I have issues with that. Because if it hasn't been done in 150 years, maybe there's a good fucking reason why it hasn't been done in 150 years.
So the danger that we face going out of this elect party and what they want to do and what they want to get in and what their agenda is, and they ram everything through because the party that's out of favor at the time, whatever it may be, there's nothing they can do.
And Democrats have done it. Republicans have done it.
Absolutely. So in the upcoming election, one of the reasons why I truly believe that we're looking at the Honorable Amy Barrett going into the Supreme Court, which, by the way, for all the feminists out of there, it's a woman that you're screaming and hollering about. It's a highly educated woman with nothing but glowing recommendations from everybody, including Supreme Court Justice who passed away recently, Anthony Scalia, who she clerked for. They're looking pretty bad. When we have both senators in California, which, by the way, if you don't know, both of our senators are women, are women. And here they are holding their breath, stomping their feet, pounding their fists, saying, oh, no, you can't have her. She's going to undo this. She's going to herself.
And she said in an interview somewhere, and I really want to limit this just to talk about this, but she even said it would probably take 10, 20 years to even remotely overturn Roe v. Wade because of all the back history and all the judgments that have been passed by the Supreme Court. It's practically settled law, which is what they said last time when Kavanaugh came up. It's like, oh, it's settled law. No, we shouldn't be touched.
Exactly. And it wasn't. It didn't happen. So all the stuff that they're jumping up and down and holding their breath and pounding their fists for is just a bunch of smoke because they can't get their way.
And if y'all are screaming at us that, hey, we're all guys or have been doing this because A, it hasn't been done since the Civil War, and B, because you don't get your way, there's not a good reason to do any. That's so bullshit. That's vacuous nonsense that you motherfuckers thinks it's the right thing to do. You know what the right thing to do? Sit on your fucking on your fucking hands and do what everybody else used to do. You play the game. You do, because politics is a game. No matter what you think, politics is 100% a game because American politics has not changed. Abraham Lincoln jumped on a window so he didn't have to vote in one of the Senate hearings or Congress. So,
do you blame him?
No, it just pisses me off. And at this point, I'm hoping maybe there's an Aaron Burr moment. Let's just get it over with. The question is, which one's going to get shot? My guess, it's going to be a Democrat.
Well, I'm not even going to go there.
So I'm going to switch this up because I found this and I thought this was hilarious. Here is the headline. $3 million lottery winner gets 21 years in prison for financing meth trafficking. Brunswick, Georgia. Just my guess. My guess is he's not going to get the rest of the $3 million. He won $3 million in 2015 on a scratch-off ticket. Holy crap! I've gotten
lucky sucker. Huh?
I've gotten buy one get one type of thing.
Yeah.
The government agreed to ask Wood to impose sentences lighter than called for under the federal advisement guidelines. The guidelines called sentencing for 27 to 33 years and 9 months, probably because they felt sorry for the guy. You did what? Eventually methamphetamines to deal with a tragedy in his life. I just thought it was hilarious. I thought it was great that the guy was trying to use government funds or whatever for a lottery to buy meth. It's like, try to be like the CIA. Go ahead. I don't think you're going to get as far as they did.
Probably not. It obviously didn't work out well for him in the long run, did it?
No, not really. I mean, 21 years is pretty.
No, I wouldn't say that worked out very well for him.
No.
Do you think one of his friends are like mine? Because I know if that was me, James or Ryan would have sent me a jail-free card from Monopoly.
Right. Good grief.
Man, it's one of those that you just wonder what was going through his head, but obviously nothing.
Obviously.
Nothing of consequence was going through his head.
You know what was going through his head? I'm going to make more money. Which is usually what these people do.
He did not, didn't file for unemployment. Yeah, I was just going to leave it there and just let it kind of run its time out. Just in case, California did get in another shutdown and I didn't want to have to go back through the whole filing process. So I filed for the unemployment while I was sick because if it was just a couple of days, I wouldn't have bothered. But being that I had to sit out extra days while I'm waiting for test results to get cleared of COVID and all that crap,
Right.
So I go and I'm like, I should probably see, I knew I left like $1 or $2 in there. So I go to look at the balance. I have the app on my phone. And I don't know if you guys know, but this is one of John's most favorite companies in the entire world that is doing the employment development.
You, Bank of America. Okay, you can continue. I just wanted to bring that in, how evil the corporation is, and the CEO should be burned at the stake. Not that I hate him.
You're gonna flip your lid in just a second.
Oh, you're gonna like this one, John. I can see it. It's coming.
I'm excited.
Yes.
So I look at the balance, and guess what my balance is?
$65,000.
Negative $256.
Negative.
How do you get negative money in a
Hold
government?
on. Let me explain this. So on the app, I can turn off online transactions. So I did before I withdrew the last amount that I certified for, which was, a couple $100. So I pulled that out. But before I did that, I shut down all online transactions. And then I'm looking through it, and the company that I went through was Walmart.com. I don't give a shit. I'm name dropping. I don't care. Both you companies can burn in hell right now.
Okay.
So I'm like, wait a second. That sounds like an online transaction.
Oh, God.
With B of A on 2 separate days.
Oh, man.
2 separate days to be hung up on.
Ooh, I remember that.
The Employment Development Department with their cards. Somewhere along the lines, there's obviously fraud being going on. And through talking with some of them, I did get one of them to say, yeah, there's been a lot of fraud. 2, their online transaction be protected under the CARES Act right now and a negative balance. So they also stole. Yeah. Great company, great choice, right? To go through.
So
it's the lowest bidder.
So
you get what
pretty much.
Right? It's the lowest bidder. It's a state contract. They went with the lowest bidder. Good old B of A.
So if y'all are out there, if there's hello? Anybody out there? If you're all wondering why James was thinking how much I hate B of A with a passion
Nobody cares. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm going to tell because
don't worry about it. Go on, move on.
No. I'm gonna bitch at B of A because I can.
Oh, Rob, I knew this was gonna happen.
Thanks, James. I appreciate that.
So hey,
getting them wound up, just what we need.
I'm not wound up. I'm hoping to further the hatred of Bank of America.
So happy Indigenous People Day.
Where's that mute? So
trying to move along. It's
no. I'm just.
What do we normally call this day? It's Columbus Day, right?
Depends. So basically, what happened is.
He actually tried to mute me and he hit the wrong button.
No, I didn't go for it. Just the long story short, I lost my house. Bank of America went out of their way to fuck me.
You and a million other people.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to make sure that if any of you have your money in Bank of America, get it out there, find a local credit union, any other bank besides those bunch of sleazebag jackasses, because I guarantee right now they're trying to put their hand in the back pocket and fuck you. Just, my PSA for the day. Bank of America is evil.
Yep.
So I want everybody to know that this is strictly Jonathan's opinion. It is not the opinion of Old Guy Tech. Old Guy Tech LLC has nothing to do with his opinion. This is solely 100% the opinion of Jonathan Charney and no one.
B of A or their big rival. I've had issues with both those companies. A lot of these big banks, they claim that they care about the little guy and say a lot of things, but in the end of it, generally it ends up being the bottom dollar, which is.
So that's the opinion strictly of James Stevens. It has nothing to do with Old Guy Tech. It is solely the opinion.
Documented over years of dealing with them.
So reasonably, if y'all want to find a bank, listen to Dave Ramsey. There's a bunch of other radio people. I happen to like most of Dave Ramsey's stuff. He'll give you good advice on what bank to use or not to use. I think usually all these people say find a local credit union. There's benefits to Bank of America. Just be careful. So
that's the opinion of Jonathan Charney. Not necessarily of anybody alive.
That's right.
I actually like Dave Ramsey. Most of Dave Ramsey's stuff I actually agree with.
Dave Ramsey.
Hey, send us to Dave Ramsey and see if we can't get somehow a link to Dave Ramsey and
I'm pretty
tell him we're trying to promote his show.
I'm pretty sure he's
and OGT would be happy to take some of his support. or anything that he could hand out our way. Thank you very much. So, okay. So do we call today Columbus Day or?
It's Indigenous People Day for the woke people or the people like me who are like, whatever, it's Columbus Day. As a kid,
Woke people?
As a kid, I thought it was stupid because I remember being in...
Did they talk about this?
Third grade, really? Second grade? Yeah, I remember it. They were, you know, they did the 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue. You know, I remember asking my question, how do you discover a continent? And because they're like, well, you run into it. It's like, well, and my comment was, isn't that like discovering your car? And I get it. They didn't know it was there, so they ran into it. But
he didn't hit the continent. That's the problem.
Yeah.
He had an island somewhere out in the Caribbean. And
I just always thought it was funny. It's like, I've always wanted to do that. I'd claim this in the name of I need another car.
What I'd like to know is...
I remember kids doing that in elementary school. They'd just be going up and be like, I claim this. I have discovered this.
That's right.
Like, you want to discover my fist as well?
Well, okay. So in my day, Columbus Day, Columbus was the holiday was, hey, man, this is a day off of school. This is great. We should always have Columbus Day every year. Best example out there. But as we learn things.
Maybe he's not the best example.
Well, I mean, you know.
Maybe.
All right. I mean, you should at least hit the continent that you're claiming for, Spain. And he didn't.
Well, you've got to remember that when they sent him out, it's not like they gave him a ship with a bunch of seasoned sailors on it. They said, you want to go and do this? Okay, you can have some of the worst people in our country. You're taking them with you.
And not the best ships either.
What was it?
As it turns out.
So they were like, we don't really like you.
It's like
we're giving you an excuse to go away.
This is buying a ship on the used shipyard.
My
used car lot, right?
My favorite joke regarding all of this was he left because his wife wouldn't leave him alone.
Oh, well, anyway, so it's
probably told him to get the hell out.
It's like, she's
come back.
She's bitching at him, and he's like, I'm going to the new world.
Oh, anyway, so he did help us with our cartography and getting our maps a little bit better. He did. So
he did, but I mean, pretty much anybody. But
making maps
like
was
a lot of people did. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. No, that was a very important part of all these explorers going on, was making maps for the next people behind them, so they have an idea what's going on. So that was a very common thing, but it needed to be done.
My favorite part of the old maps is they were too lazy to go farther, so they just said...
Part of the Flat Earth Society that actually believes that the Earth isn't round.
Yeah, but then they say stuff like we have members all around the world.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Worldwide membership of the Flat Earth Society.
Yeah.
What was it? I was talking to somebody in the last couple of years. I don't remember who, when I was talking about, shooting long distances and having to shoot for the Coriolis effect, where you actually have to deal with the curvature of the Earth.
Oh, God,
and this guy's like, oh, that's not real. There's no such thing. I was like, wait, hold on. Time out. How do you shoot long distance? Oh, it just goes straight. It's like, I'm not exactly an expert, but do you understand a little bit how ballistics work?
No.
No, bullets just keep going straight. Gravity, has no effect on it. It just keeps on traveling for infinity, right off the edge of the Earth, out into space.
Well, the galaxy. I was going to say the lack of atmosphere outside of the planet Earth and his brain definitely had something in common.
I wonder if these are the same people that believe ricochets are a myth.
Apparently they've never seen that video with that guy shooting that Barrett Lightweight 50 and he almost blows off his head. Because my favorite part of that video is afterwards, because it's a little bit later and the guy, you just see that guy going,
this answers a lot of questions.
What?
So going on the official Flat Earth Society webpage.
Oh God. Why would you do that?
The guy by the name of
flat?
Mike Hughes, Mad Mike Hughes, he's the guy that tried to launch himself in his own rocket recently.
Didn't he die?
Yeah, he didn't quite make it. He was a founding member or a major member. Okay, well, it's pretty funny. Looking at their website. Moon landing technology. Atom ruins everything. There's some pretty funny stuff here. So everybody should take a moment and look at
Oh God.
tfes.org. It's got it
I
definitely
prefer
is.
my brain not to hurt like that. I mean, just putting it out there, looking at that stuff, it just really
I might buy one of their t-shirts.
gives me a
Pretty funny.
headache.
Because it's funny.
It is
As
funny.
long as you do it when you're visiting Ryan.
Maybe that's what we should get him for Christmas is a Flat Earth Society, because you know he would wear it.
Well, it's not like we're going to ruin the surprise by talking about it on air.
Well, I got a new website to look at for humorous stuff. It's pretty funny. Some of this stuff. I'm glad I discovered it. Thank you.
I don't really get the flat earthers. Of course, I also don't get the people who think the moon landing was fake.
Oh, yes. Conspiracy theories, people.
I love conspiracies. Like, conspiracies are fun, but some of them are just fucking stupid.
Well,
Like,
yeah, of course. I mean,
like the Earth isn't round. The Earth is really flat, and it's really sitting on the back of a turtle.
but it's look at the rings of Saturn. That's their, look, they're nice and flat and they spin around. Hey, you know what tomorrow is?
Tuesday.
Well, that too.
What is tomorrow?
It is Apple Event Day and
Apple Event Day.
yeah, Apple Event Day. Don't ruin my bit.
I didn't know there was an Apple event at all.
Apple's been very quiet on this one.
I don't know. I've gotten
Okay.
a huge email.
So what is the event?
and then-
What is
and
going
then,
on at the event?
It's also the start of Amazon's
Oh, Prime Day.
Yeah. So anyway, so we got two major things. Apple Event Day, strictly, yeah. Well, for those of you who don't pay attention to what's going on with Apple, is they're announcing the greatest 5G technology in their high-end phones and introducing a new small little pocketable phone and all kinds of things going on.
Way to go, people. You can get 5G, even though it's only in a handful of markets. But hey,
it'll
go.
get there. It'll go
And don't forget, it's really causing COVID.
I have
right.
5G.
Oh.
You what?
I have 5G
You've got, where do you have 5G?
on my
Okay. So
and
you
I'm
got
up
what?
in the boonies.
That's okay. Well, good. No, I'm glad it works for you, actually.
Ba-dun, dun, 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 dun.
Well, anyway, so the big announcement.
It's pretty cool.
Big announcement. Yeah, that's good.
I
That's
know.
good.
I know this was supposed to happen in September. I think it's got pushed back.
What's that?
The Apple Phone Day.
Oh, well, they did because of COVID, because they couldn't produce the phones. It's normally done in September. It's normally done in September, and because of the delivery problems that they knew they were going to have, they had to push it back until tomorrow. So
Okay.
they did the actual first announcement in September for the iPads, the new iPads that were coming out, and some of the new Macs, I believe. So they used that day for that event, and then tomorrow will be the event for the phones, which is by far probably their biggest sellers.
I'm kind of curious on where they make their money now, because the phones, there's only so many products you can sell. That's probably why they're becoming like everybody else. They're a service company. But they're also recently they're getting out of the x86 and they're designing off of ARM, which may or may not be a good idea.
Well, we'll see what happens in that one.
Well, because I know Windows
Processors, for those of you that don't know what John's talking about.
ARM is actually being purchased by NVIDIA if they're allowed to worldwide. But I know Microsoft is trying to port Windows to ARM. There's a version on ARM, but I've never heard anything good about it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, excuse between Intel and AMD issues that in the early days that was brought up, and it's going to be the same thing for this. So
I know the downside though with Apple switching to ARM is instead of being able to run Windows natively, there's going to have to be some sort of emulation layer.
well, it'll be back to using Parallels.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people like Boot Camp for some reason too.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the whole idea of Macs being able to run Windows natively was the big push for Macs, saying, "Hey, look, you can run on both operating systems. Go for it." And they sold a lot of hardware because of that ability. So, switching to ARM may be a problem if Microsoft doesn't move ahead and say, "Hey, you know what? We've got it ported to ARM as well. And so
I wonder if they'd allow that. The other questions, would they sell that non-OEM? Could you buy that over the counter, or is it going to be with existing systems like a laptop?
I mean, we're speculating here on everything, so I don't know.
Because I have some software that I have to run in an emulation layer to actually use because it doesn't work on Windows 10. So I have an older version of Parallels something. I forgot the exact. It's like Parallels Player. It actually allows me to install Windows 7.
7, yeah.
I believe. I think that's the last one that this software works on. It's either that or the one before that, Windows 8. I don't.
So it would probably be Windows 7 because it fits in, because that's one of the big problems that the medical industry is running into. So much of their stuff is written and made strictly for Windows 7 only, and that Microsoft has come out and ended life for Windows 7. They're up at Ship Creek a little bit here, and we'll see what happens in the next year or two.
On the positive side, they're in a little bit better place than the government, which is still running on Cobalt.
Oh God.
There are still a lot of
Doesn't
legacy.
surprise me.
There's a lot of legacy stuff still running
But
out there.
that's
Remember our Boeing 747 story we did not too long ago?
Well,
they're still using
yeah.
floppy disks.
well, Cobalt is so old. The people who wrote it are dead.
True. They're looking for
I mean,
people my age are usually the coders for Cobalt.
We met a particular interesting Jew willing to put on my paycheck to get me to come out of retirement, and his comment was, "I made a pretty good sum of money."
I personally know 3 people that were retired Cobalt people that it's almost strictly people that work for government in some way, shape, or form that came out of retirement because the paycheck at the end of the day was so big, it was well worth them coming out of retirement to go back and work on everything that was Y2K.
And reasonably, what is it, like 6-7 months? And or whatever.
Yeah, it was usually because at the end there, the last 12 months in particular, it was a big rush. Oh, we got a year. We only have a year. We got to get this corrected. We got to go now because everything's going to die. Everything's going to crash. It turned out not so much.
Man, Y2K was looking at him going, so somehow miraculously the last 600 years of chemistry is going to go along with it.
The end of the world as we know it.
I remember thinking, so let me guess, you're buying suits of armor and you're buying swords. I'm still going to have my gun. Where exactly does that leave you?
Yeah, Y2K primers won't.
It's incredibly simple to make, just a tad bit dangerous.
Once we knew the formula, yeah, but it took a while to get to that formula.
Or but I mean, Y2K, you got a bunch of high school students think, oh, it worked. I'm like, well, fuck. That was,
You got to remember, I was running a technology company at that point, so we were all kind of holding our breath, staying up to 12:01, making sure that it all worked, which it did.
Well, I mean, it's like the most anticlimactic thing in history. I've never been so excited. I guess the payoff was when they were making the Obamacare, whatever the actual name of it is, and the website had to be Y2K compliant.
Yeah.
That was part of the deal. It's like, way to be 20 years out of date.
Well, it was probably still written in their policy.
Oh yeah, it was.
So I mean,
it's still funny though. I mean,
it's still funny that the website crashed.
Well, that I understand. When you have that many people trying to get healthcare at one time, it'll crash any website. I don't care what back end you have. DDoSing is a real thing.
Expected it.
This is true. They should have talked to Amazon.
Yeah.
It's like, so, dear Mr. Bezos, how do you make your website not crash when 60 million people are trying to access it one time? Well, we have this thing called Amazon Web Services.
Little before that time, but hey, it's a good theory.
Not when Obamacare that was around. AWS was around. Not during Y2K.
Right. Okay. I'm just trying to get your timeline right. Okay.
I know what I'm talking about.
Just trying to help, John. Just trying to help.
Thanks.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you. I'm going through some headlines on today, trying to figure out the New York Times.
Something exciting?
New York Times has got some kind of story about, I don't know how deep I want to get into it. An Italian teenager could become the first millennial saint.
Oh, wait, what? First millennial what?
Saint.
I didn't catch the last part.
Saint.
Catholic Church?
Saint. Yes, saint. As
Was-
in
is this-
Catholic saint.
Is this
Yes.
going to be the
Top story out of the New York Times, it says.
So they're going to get rid of flogging and bring in cutting?
All right, you're going to make me open up the damn article. I was just trying to read headlines.
Well, no, because there's a guy that he was an abbey or something back in the old mission days that they've been talking about doing, like canonizing, and like everybody has their knickers in a twist because he doesn't live up to modern sensibilities. And I was like, you guys pay attention to the Catholic Church? They don't really care about modern sensibilities. And that's the sensibilities under 12.
Oh, jeez. I was waiting for you to do that.
Well, hey.
You know,
I guess you didn't let down.
growing up in the Catholic family, never really did understand the Catholic Church, but now I really don't understand how one becomes a saint, because reading this article has got me more confused. Yeah, never mind. So
Well, because,
I'm not going to worry about that headline
Like
anymore.
from what I remember, and this is vague.
He's dead.
Well,
How exactly do you a miracle when you die? Is it somebody prays to him?
it's called photo.
Yeah, somebody prays to you, or
Phone a friend.
somebody touches your body, or something like yeah.
That's hilarious.
You never heard of that?
No, that's one I didn't hear. I just think I think Rob has a good idea. It's like, hey, I'd like to phone a friend.
Phone a friend. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to phone Bob. He's been dead for a couple of years, but he was a good guy.
I don't know. I'm just reading headlines.
He drowned trying to walk on water.
Okay. Let's see here. Since we've got 18 minutes to go.
We've got plenty of time. Stop.
So Facebook bans Holocaust. Let me try this again. Facebook bans Holocaust denial, reversing previous stance. So are you telling me that Zuckerberg tried to say that the Zuckerberg, remember this is his last name, Zuckerberg, tried to deny the Holocaust?
I think he was allowing people to be on his platform and deny it. And
so you mean he couldn't call bullshit and just say this, because that's what they're doing now?
Because the only thing I could think of, and this is I've heard something like under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, like you have to be very careful when you were removing certain things, because it removes you're no longer a platform. You're
Okay.
news media, right? News thing or something, where then you get applied.
So Zuckerberg said in 2018, this will help clear up because your point. He said in a podcast, Facebook didn't remove Holocaust denying content because it must allow for the possibility that users are making unintentional mistakes. I don't think they're intentionally getting it wrong, Zuckerberg said. For users to share that type of content.
Can you say that more robotic?
Oh my God! Yeah,
I don't believe users are
how
saying it
did-
wrong.
That was my Zuckerberg impression. So
How can you?
yeah, go. Let's go.
Okay,
Can
I'm trying to figure
He
out.
said it because today they said, announcing the change, Facebook said, our decision is to support the well-documented rise in anti-Semitism globally and the alarming level of ignorance of the Holocaust, especially among young people. Okay, so there's a flip-flop for you.
I mean, that was the reason why Spielberg, after he directed Schindler's List, started recording all the surviving members of Auschwitz and Dachau and recording all the survivors, so they actually had oral history of it. I'm not surprised.
That was good. That was a good thing.
I think it's kind of ridiculous that 2018 is like, oh, we're a platform, do what you want.
Well,
and then
it bothers me a little bit that Zuckerberg came out and said that. I mean, he's an educated person.
we both know people who are book smart, but they wouldn't know how to fix a 2-foot hole in a boat. Let's be honest.
And I would assume by looking at the last name that he may have had family that were in the Holocaust.
Survived.
Survived or didn't. And
Well,
that's
they obviously
surprising.
survived to spawn him.
Yeah, well, let's say somebody adopted that name because everybody else was dead.
Spawn.
I don't know.
By the way, interesting choice of words. Spawn.
He's trying to spawn.
I'm not
You're
really
the spawn of Rob.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm going to refrain from my joke just because I might gross my dad out.
Yeah, don't go there. All right.
I
don't want to gross the audience out besides me.
I'm not surprised just because I think back in 2018, because of the DMCA, and if the only thing I could think of, because I could understand that is when we were doing a lot of political interviews as a company,
Yeah.
I would never edit anything they said. And unfortunately, some of the people we interviewed were a little ticked that I wouldn't make them look better. It's like, it's not my job to protect your vote. I mean, if you screw up, that's on you. That's not on me.
They walk into a news show or a show discussing whatever it is they may discuss about. There is no censor button, and we went into with that going that it is what it is.
Yeah, and I told a number of them, it's like, I don't edit anything you say. If you tell me to do it, I still won't remove it.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm not surprised though. Who was it? What was it? Ahmadinejad? It was the Iranian leader. Well, because he was starting to say that the Holocaust wasn't real.
Oh, absolutely. They've been denying that forever.
And so it's just a matter of time. I've heard a number of people afraid the problem of long distance is just these things just keep forgetting. They be forgotten. Like how many people remember remember the Maine? I mean, how many people actually remember what that's actually from?
Oh, well, let's not even go there. Because we've had a discussion about education before and about where it's heading and what it's lacking. And to understand history and histrionics, so to speak, of what you're talking about.
Histrionics?
Yeah, histrionics.
Is that a word?
It is now.
Oh, okay.
It is now.
Okay.
I decided to make it. There you go. Boom, it's done. So
like a fart in the night.
But yeah, there's a lot of things that could be quotes and statements and words. People, they would have no idea what it means. Let's face it. It's not being taught.
I mean, it also doesn't help like the History Channel. Like I learned more from the History Channel in my personal research about World War II than I ever learned in school. So I'm not.
Stop learning. I mean,
you don't get older. Wait a minute. You mean if I stop?
How many years have you been out?
You mean if I stop learning, I'll get younger?
Eventually.
No, I don't think so.
You'll forget how to count.
I got to stop learning.
You'll forget how to count.
No,
that won't make me younger, though.
You just start going backwards. Yeah, I'm 27 years old. Then why are you handing me your Social Security check, sir?
Social Security check? Checks? What's a check?
I have some somewhere.
Uh-huh. I wonder if today's kids, let's say high school graduates going into college, how many actually have or understand the term checking account to know what it is? Because everything's done online. So I wonder if they even know that there's such a thing as a paper check.
There's still some things we pay with checks.
Yeah, but you're not.
You're old, James. I mean, come on. You're almost 40.
I'm sorry.
I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
you're older.
You're too old. I'm talking about today's high school grads that just, graduated a couple years ago, opened an account. They're in college somewhere, and they're calling it a checking account, but have no clue that there's actually supposed to be something called a paper check that goes with it that got its name.
I doubt, and most of them know what the term baud rate is, so never mind.
No, baud rate's getting too obscure, but let's say checking account is a term kind of like Kleenex. It's a term used for any kind of banking account. Now, I have a checking account. Okay, where's your checks? I bet I need to find out if they actually know what the term checking account came from.
If we're going to do this, we got to do something like checking account, party line.
Like Kleenex. Well, Kleenex was, is the maker of the tissue.
It's a brand name.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite one of those is sheetrock.
All right. There you go. There's another example. But again, getting a little obscure.
Not really.
What would be a comparable to checking account in today's terms? There must be something.
You got me. I have no idea.
Come on, James.
I can't.
I'm counting on you. Think.
Tube TV.
Don't keep getting younger.
See, there you go.
There were rotary phones. I knew a number of people who had rotary phones when I was a kid.
Speed dial. I think speed
dial.
No,
I'm talking about. He's talking about high school kids.
Yeah.
What would be equivalent to a high school kid let's say, junior year right now, which would put them born at 2003, 2004. What would be in 2004 to 2005 that they were a kid that they would have seen that is going out of style now? That's more what Rob is asking.
Yeah, we
Pagers.
need to put a list together, because it'd be interesting to try to find a way of polling these kids at this point, seeing if what is it that do you understand what this really is about?
VHS tapes.
Okay.
Because VHS tapes was still around. I knew plenty of people who had them. I still used them in 2000.
So then the term videotape.
Yeah.
All right.
Or tape in general, like video,
all right.
or cassette.
Cassette. You know what a cassette is? I saw something not too long ago about somebody doing similar, showing people these cassettes to I want to say they're middle schoolers, maybe 8th grade, let's say, going into high school, 9th grade type of thing, showing them cassette tapes, trying to see if they could figure out what they're for. And better yet, they took a pencil with a cassette tape and it said, okay, tell me what the relationship is between this pencil and this cassette tape.
That's
Let's see if
hilarious.
they had any idea. Now, if you're old enough to know about cassette tapes, you'll know instantly what you used a pencil for. And I'm not going to tell you on this show.
Or you could always ask him about an 8-track and the ka-chunk.
8-tracks are really interesting.
I doubt they would know that.
Well, 8-tracks always...
That's going pretty far
8-tracks
back,
always,
even for me.
I always thought 8-tracks were hilarious because you'd be in the middle of a song like, hey, baby. Ka-chunk.
So, interesting enough with the 8-track cartridges. In the radio biz, when I was working in a radio station, we called them, oh God, the way back music. When I was working in a radio station, we did all our commercials and our breaks were done in what's called carts. And so you had a machine lined up here that you used your cart and you put it in. Okay, so it's Tide commercial day, and this cart's got to be in here. And by the way, you're on a commercial break in here, and you'd hit a button, and the 8-track tape, which is, we would call them a cart, was just a small reel of tape, would play the ad. And then we had to watch it if there's another commercial after that, and we'd punch button 2, and the next cart would come in, and there's the advertisement.
I remember hearing somebody talk about...
Or in mechanism.
Well,
and,
so it's like the VHS versus the commercial VHS, like the system, like the back in the day,
it was a different...
Yeah.
The commercial...
Same thing,
video
but different,
recording
different
tape
thing.
was a larger cartridge, but it's the same kind of idea. It was basically the same exact technology, and we would put them into these carts and we'd run them in order. And of course, that was back in the day when we spliced tape. When we would go in and we would do our commercials and whatever voiceover we had to do, and we actually taped, they run on tape, recording tape, right? And then we would splice these things together so that they actually.
So when you're doing your easily listening talk and going, you're listening to smooth sound of the 70s. Now here is Tide.
Do-do-do-do-do. And it'd be the news, and it'd be up here, and we're saying, hey, in today's news, 18 people died today trying to get off on the Olympic off-ramp. Why was that? We don't know. We'll find out. Joe, it's up to you. Why did they die? I don't know, man. The helicopter's going in the background.
It's like listening to the news when I was a kid. That's like one of my favorites.
Hey, I'm having too much fun.
Was it Robin Williams? It's one
Robin Williams
was one of those bits where he talked. Some comedian talks about he wish life could be like the news. And 65 people died today. How's the weather? And or they'd be like 65 people died. And President Bill Clinton said, it's like that's a hell of a switch.
Segways. We always call them segways. You'd be surprised what we would do.
Those are bipolar segways. I mean, that's extreme.
Hey, that was it, man. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Be crying, oh, I'm sorry they died. And today the weather's going to be 80 degrees and mild.
Have you ever watched MSNBC? That's what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to do it. I mean, I'm sorry. It could be the worst thing you've ever seen. But now we go to the next story. Because ratings, you got to get those ratings, right?
Yeah.
Even though syphilis has a better rating than the news channels.
Sorry, I had my old radio flashback just hit me. It was fun. That was a fun trip in time.
Welcome to the smooth sounds of the 70s.
You don't have it down as well as I did.
Well, I can't talk that slow. Because unfortunately, I live in the modern world where everything's fast, fast, fast. Instead of you could just talk real. Like everybody was on some sort of reverse methamphetamine.
Mm.
You're talking about that, and so hold on, I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna see
What
if
kind
I
of
can
segue is
figure out.
that?
That was a hell of a segue.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we were talking about, things that kids these days would be kind of. Wait a second. Why isn't it coming up? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Problems with electronic notes.
I think it's Netflix has this movie. It's either Netflix or Prime.
No, it's Netflix if you're talking about the cuties.
No. It's called The Babysitter, and it's a pretty funny horror series that they put out. They put out one in 2017, and then there was one that came out this year. And I was watching it, and there's some pretty funny scenes in there. But so the kid kind of grew up with this, and they come across having a boombox. And the kid who's like a junior in high school, 2020, Bratchel. And I started bursting out laughing. So John bringing up cassette tapes makes me think of that.
I never thought they were that.
With cassette tapes, there's always
a
possibility,
tape,
right? That
Oh yeah, I've known a few cassette tapes and VHS tapes that they fell apart, and you're sitting there trying to fix them.
Yep. The machine would,
VHS I just pretty much threw away.
Actually, you talk about that. I remember working at Hollywood Video. Hold on, because we're coming up to the end of this, but I got to get the right sound effect. So when I worked in Hollywood Video back in the day, I remember my boss at the time.
Back in the day.
She would take apart the tape, and I actually remember her splicing away like 6 inches of tape, and I'm like, man, I hope that's not the ending.
Nah, it'd be just the ending credits.
Why did she do that?
Because I'm assuming
tracking issues.
That we just got really this.
We lost her, James.
So James is there. So I guess since that's one hell of an exit, ladies and gentlemen.
That was his way of saying goodbye.
Yeah, TTFN.
All right.
So the old ladies and gentlemen for the California Pride, Jonathan Charney, James the Fat Man Stevens, and Rob the Old Guy. As always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.